Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Devon, and today I'm going to share with you how to make the best apple pie with these unbelievable apples. Now we will be using a Jonagold apple, and that's these apples right here. Aren't they just beautiful? Nice red apples. I had never used a red apple when making apple pie. But tell me something, comment down below and let me know. Have you ever used this apple before? It's always been Granny Smith or Golden Delicious, but this apple here makes unbelievable apple pie. Once you use these apples, you will never want to use Granny Smith again. Let's get started on our recipe. Now we are using 6 apples, and these are 6 medium-sized apples, medium to large size apples in our apple pie recipe. Now what makes these apples so special is that they are nice and firm. They have a little bit of that tartness to it that Granny Smith usually would have, but it's not overly tart. And something else is that these apples are actually very juicy. So when they cook up, when they bake up in your pie comes out nice, juicy, full of really good, nice apple flavor. Because of that, just how they are, their crispiness, their juiciness, they bake up so good. And as you see, I have them sliced, and I'm slicing my apples the same size that you would when you're making a traditional apple pie. And hey guys, if you're new here, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's free. And if you like this video, go on and give us a thumbs up. So now that I've got my apples all cut up in the bowl, what I'm going to do is we're going to add our spices to this. Now, this particular recipe, really is geared towards using Jonagold apples. And these apples, Jonagold apples also, guys, they're not always easy to find in the supermarket. So anytime that I find them at the supermarket, I always grab them. It seems like they're just not always available, but when they are, trust me, when you see that apple, you want to grab it, and you do want to use this recipe to make this awesome apple pie. Now I have some pie crust that I've already prepared, and this pie crust that I'm using is my recipe for flaky pie crust. Now I have a video on this, guys, how to make pie crust like a pro. I'll go on and link that video at the end of this one, but I'm going to go on and roll out my pie crust just like this. And when you're rolling out your pie crust, you don't want it too thick, because if your pie crust is too thick, it's going to be kind of gummy at the bottom. And so, you want to roll it out about the size, like if you stacked 2 dimes together, guys. If you stack 2 dimes together, about that thickness, that's about the thickness that you want to roll out your pie crust, okay? No thicker than that. And so I've flipped my pie crust over. I love using this technique. I'm using my silicone mat, and I love using that mat because then I could just go on and flip my pie crust right over and peel it off. If you don't have a silicone mat that I'm using there, parchment paper works very well to get the job done. Okay, so once I have everything in there, and you see what I'm doing, when you're baking your pie, you don't want to have any spots where liquid could spill out, like your juice can spill out and end up underneath your pie. And what I'm talking about is underneath your crust. And then what'll happen is the bottom will start to burn, because that syrup, the juice that's created from the pie baking, if it gets underneath, it will start to burn, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that you go around like I did, and I filled it in just to make sure that I had no creases in there where any liquid could escape. Okay, now in my bowl of apples, I'm going to put in my flour. Now I am putting in 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Now typically with most apple pie recipes, you usually put in a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of flour, and that's usually if you're using Granny Smith apples. But like I said, these Jonagold apples are very juicy, so 1/4 cup of flour is not really typical of most apple pie recipes, but because they are juicy, they can handle having that 1/4 cup of flour. Now I've also put in 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and I'm putting in right now 1/4 cup of light brown sugar, okay? And so And we're going to put in our spices. I'm going to put in a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. However, you can put in a full teaspoon of cinnamon if you like, okay? And now we're going to put in something that's not typical. It's not typical of apple pie, and that's nutmeg. We're putting in a fourth a teaspoon of nutmeg. That really, really does the trick with this apple. And then we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice just to really brighten things up. And now what I want to do is just like that. You see how I'm getting in there and I'm just mixing in my bowl. I want to make sure that I don't have any clumps of flour at the bottom of my bowl, as well as I want to coat my apples as best as possible. I really want to make sure that the cinnamon and the nutmeg and the flour well coat all of my apples. Now I'm going to go in and put it into my pie crust. And I like to make sure that I leave no ingredients behind. So I make sure I get every bit of cinnamon and the sugar and the nutmeg flour. Make sure it all goes right into my pie pan. Now I have my oven preheating on 400 degrees, and that is the temperature in which we will be baking our pie. And something that you also want to do here, guys, is you want to make sure that your apples are nice and even. They're evenly set into your pie crust. The reason being is you don't want too many pieces of apples, too many apples on one side, or your pie to kind of be one-sided. You don't want that. You want to make sure you have a nice even layer, and that your apples are all nice and evenly distributed throughout your pie crust, okay? And so now I'm going to go in and put on some butter, and I'm using salted butter. And the reason why I'm using salted butter is because we did not add any salt to that sugar mixture. And the salted butter helps to balance out some of the sweetness a little bit, okay? And so I'm just using some salted butter, and I use 2 tablespoons of salted butter, all right, that I just dabbed on top. Now I've gone and I've rolled out my top crust, and we're going to go in and flip this over just like that. And then as you see here, guys, I'm just going around the edge and I am sealing it. I'm just gently pressing it, the top piece and the bottom piece, to make sure they come together, so that way your pie does not bubble and leak out on the side. Now, if that happens, don't worry, but it just kind of prevents that spillage that will happen on the side of the pie, okay? And so once I've done that and I've kind of sealed the top and the bottom, I go through and I press. And if there's any sections in my pie crust that one side has a little bit more dough on one side than the other, I just pinch off that side and I add it to the side that needs a little bit more crust love. Go on and do that. And then once I have it all sealed, I just go around with my fingers and I just squeeze, and I just kind of squeeze them together between my fingers just like that to make that nice edge. Now, to give our pie that beautiful golden sheen, we're going to be using 1 egg. And I just go in and I beat up my egg just like that. Just nice. You want to make sure that you well beat your egg, okay? So that way it's not separate, nice well beaten egg. And I just go in and I brush the top. I brush it all over. Now you want to take note not to put too much egg wash on top. And I didn't add any water to it. It's just straight beaten up egg. You don't want to add too much egg wash, especially in the creases, because what will happen is when your pie bakes, it looks like you have a little bit of scrambled egg on top if you put a little bit too much egg on there, okay? And I use my kitchen shears and I go around and I make those classic 4 little slits all around the top. And then I use my protector for my edge. Now, if you don't have one of those like I have, you can go in and just use some foil and put foil all around the edge, okay? And so after an hour, this is it. This is our pie, y'all. Our pie has baked in our oven for 1 hour. And look at that. Beautiful golden crust. Just perfect. Cannot wait to try this. Let's go on and give it a try, huh? Let's see. I've let the pie kind of cool just a little bit. And we are going to go on and cut into our pie. Yeah, we're going to go on and cut into our pie. And let's see what we got here with these Jonagold apples. Look at that crust. Nice flaky crust. It cuts so nice. Nice flaky crust. Beautiful golden sheen. Just picture perfect, y'all. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to try this. And let me tell you, right now my husband is behind me sitting at the table. He cannot wait for his piece, okay? He cannot wait to have a piece of this pie. Let's see what it looks like, y'all. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, nice. Look at that. Oh, it's just so proud. Oh, I'm so proud of this pie, y'all. Look at that. You see that? Nice juice. The liquid thickened up so nicely. You got that brown sugar. You got that cinnamon and nutmeg glistening. Look at that. Oh, do you see that? Do you see that? Oh my goodness. Just that nice, that just classic apple look right there. There is nothing, like we say, there is nothing more classic than a wonderful apple pie. Well, guys, I hope you give this recipe a try. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Go on and hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, go on and give us a thumbs up. And remember, it is always good when Devon is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.